My name is Danielle Taylor, and I have the honor of introducing our speaker today. This 6-week challenge has been absolutely a huge blessing. We've had different experts in their fields coming to a call every single week as a public service to help people in overall health and wellness. And this particular individual that you're going to hear from today, Audra Nicholls, just a quick story about her. If you have not been around us, you haven't heard this yet, and this is so important. She actually helped me 20 years ago with a problem that I had a health challenge happening that doctors could not figure out. They took me for test after test. They wanted to just put me on medicine. Basically, they were just putting a Band-Aid over it, and they didn't know what to do with me. I was in a lot of pain, and it was affecting my everyday life. I had gained some weight. And it was just a huge struggle. I was behind at work because I'd have to miss work. And I finally just had my limit. And I walked in to the health food store in my hometown. And I was blessed enough to run right into this fabulous woman who knows her craft and knows it well. She's mastered it. But I stood there and said, you know, here's what's going on. I've got all these issues. I'm miserable. It's affecting every aspect of my life. And I am at the point now where I would just drink snake oil if you gave it to me. And she listened to my symptoms. She walked me around. She put me on a regimen. And within 2 months, I started losing weight. All the pain that I had been enduring was gone. It was astonishing. And so, of course, it gave me this respect for her. And at that moment in my life, I decided I am going to do everything in my power to always try to do natural things first before I ever rely on modern medicine. I'm not saying that I don't believe in modern medicine. I think that it's so critically important that we have that, and I'm thankful for it. But before I go that route, I'm always going to try to take care of myself in a more holistic way. And so she and I formed a relationship where I would just walk in and I would always ask for her. She gave me her personal cell phone number if I ever had questions. And so she was my go-to person for many years. And then fast forward 20 years later, we end up in business together. So very blessed to be partnering with her and all the talents that she brings to every person that comes in contact with her. She serves with her whole heart. She makes her home actually in Martinsville, Indiana now. She has a store in Greenwood, Indiana, and she also manages one in Decatur, Illinois. But she is a mom. She has some beautiful children, 3 at home, one that's grown and just gave her her first grandbaby. So she is a very busy woman, to say the least. Not only that, though, she, like I said, serves with her heart, and she's going to share with us how to eat properly, the foundations of health. I do want to say there's so many confusing things out there. I'll get out of the way in just a second, but I don't know about you, but as I'm going through different things, trying to find my, what works for me, you have intuitive eating, you have the, keto plan, you have, no carbs, and all of these different things that when you're looking into, well, what's right for me, you have someone that actually can tell you, because she's lived it by example, exactly what you need as a recipe, because there's so many conflicting or confusing things out there, and what works for one person may not work for another. But comprehensively, when you put someone that has lived it every single day of her adult life, I've seen her over the years, she is as healthy as they come, then you definitely want to lean forward and take notes. So without any further ado, we'll talk about, just make sure you join our group, and then I'll turn this over to Miss Audra Nicholls. We have a Facebook group called 6 Weeks to Summer Challenge, and you can get some great information in there as well. Just go to your search bar and Facebook and type in 6 Weeks to Summer Challenge. We will approve you into the group, and then you can get more. We'll have some of these recorded, so you can take those and copy them and save them for if you want to go back and listen to them again. So again, I want to turn this over to my dear friend, Miss Audra Nicholls.
Hey, thank you, Danielle. It has been a journey, and when you asked me to speak, I was able to listen to Dr. Volano last week, and just trying to come up with something. And I'm really going to just talk about the food today, guys. And like Danielle said, I own a health food store, so Yes, definitely. I believe everything that we do and everything we start with should be what, with what we're consuming. So I'm focusing on the food today, and trying to do this within about 20 minutes. And you're going to hear a little bit about what whole foods. I'm going to kind of break it down into whole foods. I'm going to break it down into processed foods, organic foods, and even within that, whenever we're not and we're veering away from these organic foods and whole foods, what we're going to find is excitotoxins, acidic foods, and GMOs and sugar. So these are the kind of topics I'm going to try to talk about. And so obviously you see I'm trying to bite off a whole lot, but I want to kind of just give a foundation of at least why you should look at food as an art, right? You see this picture of what food looks like in its natural state. This is what we should be consuming, is food in its natural state. And that's really what whole food is it's food in its natural state. This is what we should be focusing most of our diet on, right? Not refined foods, not processed foods. We really want to go and I know that Dr. Duran kind of spoke about even food choices and her when she spoke too, but it's really looking at, getting the most bang for your buck, because we're talking about optimal health. When I talk to people all the time, they're coming to me because they're hurting. They're coming to me because they're frustrated. They know that they feel different than what they should, and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we have to sometimes go back even to the basics, because I can give people supplements, right? But if we are putting things into our body that's damaging and confusing your body, creating inflammation, creating disease states, I'm Band-Aiding just along that same way as maybe even conventional medicine might be. So I'm a real proponent of whole foods and eating foods in its natural state, okay? And there's going to be more vitamins, more nutrients, more usable nutrients whenever we go into this whole food state. And whole foods doesn't just have to be, your produce that we're buying. It can actually be even the nuts, the seeds, salmon, and other foods that we're also consuming. But the benefits of choosing whole foods, again, there's going to be more phytochemicals, more phytonutrients, more vitamins. Eating foods with vitamins that are vitamin rich are going to give you, and you're able to absorb more from those vitamins, from those food sources, than if I were to give you a multiple vitamin. So this is why whenever we tell you to eat in colors, think of it as art, right? All of the different colors in those different foods are giving you different nutrients. And these plant chemicals or these plant nutrients, they have a lot of protective properties. They're antioxidant properties. If you've been aware of what's going on in the world, we keep talking to people about antioxidants, right? Zinc, vitamin C, all of these different things. But when you're eating a whole foods, there's actual nutrients still in those foods. So again, we're going to encourage you to consume more of the whole foods, because we're wanting to give your body more antioxidants to help remove free radicals or damaging cells that are in your body. So again, this is why we want more whole foods. There's also more fiber in a whole foods, right? What does fiber do for you guys? We should be trying to get about 35 grams of fiber a day. I don't know if you've ever tried to pay attention to how much you're getting, but most people are getting between 7 and 10, and that's if they're trying usually, right? But we're needing to get about 35 grams of fiber a day. And the reason why is when we start consuming these whole foods, we're going to have more roughage, and that roughage is going to help with stabilizing your blood sugar. It's going to help with your colon health. It's going to help you to stay fuller for longer. We're going to be providing you more nutrient-dense foods, okay? So again, that's part of that. But what components to eat within the whole foods? I'm a huge proponent of eating good fats. Good fats gives our brain energy. It's good for our skin. It's good for our eyes. It's good for our nervous system, right? But rich foods and omega-3s. A lot of us, our diets are consumed, we have way too much omega-6 fatty acids, okay? And that omega-6 and omega-3 proportions we need to be consuming more and more of the omega-3s, because your omega-3s are going to help with some of that, reduce some of that inflammation state. But wild caught salmon, true wild caught salmon. You know, I will hear people say, well, I bought this salmon. I'm like, well, is it wild caught? Again, farm raised food is not the same as wild caught. So again, true wild caught salmon is giving you an abundant amount of omega-3s, sardines, mackerel, herring, pasture raised eggs loaded with omega-3s, okay? So again, if we can consume foods that are rich in omega-3s, there's research and studies showing that we can reduce your risk of heart disease, especially if you consume it a couple times a week, right? It can reduce heart disease, inflammation states. You'll hear me say this multiple times today, but all diseases are inflammation states, and all diseases. So again, if we can reduce that inflammation, we're going to help whatever disease state or whatever conditions you're having, right? So again, but we're doing it all by food. I'm not making any medical claims. I'm just giving your body tools. Beans, legumes, nuts. I'm a huge fan of eating raw nuts and seeds. Again, variety of raw nuts and seeds. And again, I always encourage people, just a small amount. We do not need a bowl of nuts. Don't put a whole bowl of almonds at your desk and eat the whole bowl. I'm talking 6 to 8 to 12 almonds a day. Add some walnuts, macadamia nuts, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. There's different nutrients in every single one of those nuts and seeds, giving you zinc and magnesium and all these different nutrients that our body needs, right? I love flax seeds and chia seeds too. Some of you guys might have tried to put flax seeds in different things. You can add flax seed and if you're using like a kefir, or maybe you make a steel cut oat in the morning and add some flaxseed to that. Chia seeds, you can do the same. These are going to add more fiber. Remember, I talked about the fiber, 35 grams of fiber a day. You can actually take those flax seeds and you can put it in a coffee grinder and make it into a ground flax. Your body can absorb that better than that whole seed. So again, and then the chia seed, if you've never tried chia seeds, there's some really fun recipes. You add the chia seed to maybe an unsweetened almond milk and maybe a splash of a true organic vanilla extract, and it makes a pudding. It's like a chia pudding. You know, there's all kinds of recipes, especially if you like getting on Pinterest. But chia seeds are wonderful, omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9 rich, but also a healthy fat and a healthy fiber for you. And lots fresh fruits, vegetables. Asparagus, broccoli, kale, spinach, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Cruciferous vegetables, guys, have a lot of different antioxidants in it. And what I love about looking at cruciferous vegetables in the diet, it has a sulfur compound in it, guys. You know, and especially if I'm working with somebody who might, you know, like Danielle those years ago had some hormonal imbalancing going around. You know, maybe you've got some immune system issues. My father had cancer. You know, we worked with the diet. Yes, my father took lots and lots of supplements, but my father's diet was radically changed. And when and Danielle indicated, I know that all of us have different walks, right? We have different reasons why maybe we just want to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe we're tired of our energy levels being low. Or maybe you're like my father who had cancer. And what you put in your body makes a difference, right? Cruciferous vegetables are one of those things that I had him focus on because of the different antioxidants and the different capabilities of what those cruciferous vegetables did in his body. Berries, and a variety of those different berries. They're low glycemic, right? And just a handful. Whenever we're doing fruit, we need to remember, we don't need abundant of fruit. I want you to focus and make it a heavy, vegetable-rich diet, okay? And still some fruit, but minimal amount of fruit because, again, it's still sugar. But, again, be mindful of the low glycemic. A lot of people will buy the big apple, right? Well, that's 2 servings. A big banana, that's 2 servings. So, again, but berries, cherries, peaches, plums, all of these are giving you different antioxidants. Vitamin C, you know, that's so important for our immune system. and whole grains. Again, whole grains are so much better. It's not a refined carbohydrate. They're going to be a complex carbohydrate that your body can break down. I know that some of us, whenever we go on diets, we might restrict our carbohydrates, but eventually a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle will have some carbohydrates in it. But we just want to do the unrefined whole foods, maybe some quinoa, maybe some teff, maybe some steel-cut oats, but again, the whole grain products. And then wild-caught fishes, wild-caught fishes, free range, and we're going to go into organic next, and grass-fed beef. But let's kind of go into why I don't like refined foods. And you're going to see me give all kinds of unique faces. When I don't like something, you're going to tell it through my face, right? But refined foods are horribly, horribly ultra-processed. Your body doesn't have to break them down like they do a complex carbohydrate. It just is kind of empty calories. But the worst thing about the processed food, though, is what is also in them. There are all kinds of chemicals and additives for preservatives, for flavor, that are very, very, very harmful for us. And yes, there are some foods that are minimally processed. So again, I know that a lot of people are not going to convert to a 100% whole food diet where they cook everything from scratch to finish, right? You know, so there are some foods that are minimally processed, you know, and definitely you can have some of those in a diet, but it's those foods that are heavily processed, that are loaded with different chemicals, different artificial ingredients. And again, if it's an artificial ingredient, you don't understand what it is, it's a chemical, plain and simple. Your body has to deal with those chemicals. Your body has to break down those chemicals. And it's causing a lot of the health issues that I'm seeing. We're seeing a lot of leaky gut. We're seeing a lot of emotional. But again, it's the stuff that we're putting into our body that is not real food. We're like this science petri dish that we just keep adding these ingredients to, and your body doesn't know what to deal with it. And so then all of these different conditions start to pop up, right? So in refined foods and processed foods, you're going to have all these refined carbohydrates. And the damage with that is that they break down very quickly. It causes an insulin spike. It causes cortisol issues. It causes us to become soft in the middle, right? It causes some gut dysbiosis issues. It causes some anxiety for some, right? But these foods are also very low in nutrients. They're very low in fiber versus the counterpart, your whole foods friend, right? And then there's high amounts of sugar and high fructose corn syrup. I think high fructose corn syrup is bad. Just like I said, I wanted to come up with a really nice big word, but it's just bad for us. You know, if you understand that high fructose corn syrup is even worse for you than sugar, and I've got a couple of slides that are just dedicated to sugar here in a bit, but high fructose corn syrup is a totally different man-made molecule. But the problem with it is that there's no bonds, no chemical bonds in it. And so when you consume something with high fructose corn syrup, it goes directly into your bloodstream, and it causes a lot of issues with the liver, fatty liver disease. It causes a lot of issues with our with weight. It causes a lot of issues with focus. Do you know that one 20-ounce glass of high fructose corn syrup soda has 17 teaspoons of sugar in it? Wow. You know, and I think the average person is drinking sometimes up to 2 or more of those a day. So again, but high fructose corn syrup, and I know that there's also all kinds of other names besides high fructose corn syrup. Sometimes it might just be labeled corn syrup, but start looking at your label. Start looking at what you're giving to your kids, right? If you don't feel good, look at what you're putting in your body. And I only have time to kind of touch on some of all of this, but trans fats and vegetable oils. Cheap foods have cheap oils, bottom line. They're cheap foods, right? But these omega-6 highly refined foods is creating inflammation in your body. Again, inflammation is the root of all your diseases. So again, if we can keep those inflammation states down and we increase your omega-3s in that whole food diet, you know, and we take away all of these highly refined oils, you know, again, corn oil, soybean oils, safflower oils, there's all of these different oils that we need not to be consuming, you know, that there are healthy oils that we can do. You know, I'm a big fan of using olive oil. I don't heat my olive oil. I drizzle your olive oil. So say maybe you make a salmon with some asparagus. You can always drizzle your olive oil over the top, or if you have a nice salad with all these veggies, drizzle your olive oil on the top. I also use a lot of avocado oil. Even with cooking, it has a higher heat index. So like if maybe you're going to saute some asparagus or some Brussels sprouts, don't use your olive oil to saute in a high heat, because olive oil really shouldn't go over, I believe it's 375, and an avocado oil, when you cook with it, can go, I believe, all the way up to 540. So it has a higher heat index. So again, those are oils that you can use, but just try to steer away from these trans fat, these refined food oils. So now I want to kind of get into organic. Yes, whole foods, that's one step, right? Getting you using whole foods, but now we need to really touch on what is organic. Organic whole foods is really the way to go. And the reason being is that it's the next step. It's getting rid of even more chemicals, because by definition, and a lot of us understand, just because of, you know, a lot of us have been using different supplements that need to be organic, right? Because we understand the chemicals that are used on the plant, the chemicals that are used in the ground, the pesticides, right? All of these different things will be in your plant. Well, how much is too much? I don't know. But if you have the option to buy organic, I highly suggest that you do, because again, we're not going to be using chemicals and hormones, antibiotics, genetically modified foods, the GMOs, right? The MSGs, monosodium glutamate, right? And the land must be grown too. This is just a neat little, if you can screenshot things if you're really interested, but I think it's important for you guys to see what's in non-organic food, what's in the non-organic produce, what's in our meat. You know, I will call myself a food snob, and I'll call myself a food snob all day long, because I know what's in my food. I've been given the knowledge to know what's in it. So now it's my job to do something about it, right? Especially because she said I have 4 kids. But what I do know is that in our non-organic, they're using chemical fertilizers. They're using herbicides, right? Synthetic pesticides, all of which will get into your produce. Even if you wash, it's not always enough, because you think about how it's growing in it. It's in that plant, okay? And the same with your meat. To me, it's even worse to understand what we're able to do to our cow, to our pig, to chicken, you know, and even, so for me, that it's very eye-opening. Growth hormones, just simply to make the livestock grow faster, right? What is all that growth hormones doing whenever we consume all this organic beef? Maybe we consume non-organic milk too. They're saying that young girls are developing so much faster, potentially because of this, right? So again, really look for organic meats. You know, a lot of grocery stores have organic meats, non-GMO, right? Antibiotics are often used in the meats in the meat itself, and even just the quality of the life of those animals are different in the non-organic often, right? But something I found interesting is even these large feedlots, a lot of them give low dosage of antibiotics even when they're not sick, okay? What does that mean? It's going to be in the beef, and when we consume it in low doses, is in our body. Low doses of antibiotics over time can truly, truly disrupt our good bacteria in our gut. 75% or 70% of your immune system is in your gut. I spend days, hours every day helping people with gut health, right? So again, if I can at least give you the tools so that you're not damaging that gut health, you're going to have, again, better optimal health. But a lot of even what's in our organic meat is these hydrolyzed proteins that are added to protein, to meat, to enhance flavor and to tenderize. But these hydrolyzed proteins are MSGs. MSGs are something that truly can wreak havoc in our bodies. MSGs are often found, like I said, in meat, in lunch meat, and they're hidden words a lot of times anymore. They don't label MSG, but there's a lot of hidden words, and what it does is it affects the neurological system. It actually can cause headaches for some, migraines, GI issues. Again, almost every single chemical that is added to our food ultimately will affect the gut, ultimately will affect the communication systems in the gut. A lot of times will cause neurological issues too. So again, MSGs are something that's often added to our meat. And these are called excitotoxins. Excitotoxins, though, they're truly amino acids, though, that work within the brain and those neurotransmitters. And artificial sweeteners is one of those excitotoxins that I have spent a lot of time just trying to educate people. A lot of people will want to drink the diet sodas, or they'll want to drink them over the sugar because they know that the sugar might cause them to gain weight, right? And so they're trying to find a low caloric drink or option, and they'll go to these artificial sweeteners, because why would we have something that could potentially harm us in our food sources, right? Why is that even possible? But it is. Aspartame and other artificial sweeteners are excitotoxins, and they're damaging people all the time. I will share one story. I have a lady of a customer I've worked with, and she was a big diet soda drinker, and I knew that. And she also had these MS-like symptoms, and I just encouraged her, I'm like, change your diet. Get rid of those artificial sweeteners and just tell me what your nervous system does. She went without her artificial drinks, without her diet sodas, for about 30 days. And she's like, wow, I can't believe that these symptoms I've had have gone away. So again, we know that excitotoxins are working and affecting that neurological system. So again, something I spend a lot of time educating people, because we just don't understand the full effects that these excitotoxins, and there's many besides artificial sweeteners and MSGs. But I wanted to kind of give you a visual of, okay, so we've talked about organic. There's certain foods that actually have higher pesticide levels, and they often call them the dirty dozen. And a lot of times you're going to see some variation between one list to another. But squash, peppers, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, peppers, potatoes, tomatoes, greens, cucumbers, and celery. But these are what we call the dirty dozen. They have the highest pesticide level. So if nothing else, if we can start with buying the foods on this list, and I'm going to encourage you to also look at your beef, if you do any meat, to also look at your meat and buy some pasture-raised chicken eggs too. But we also have what we call the clean 15. I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news all day, so I wanted to kind of give you some options. Like, these are foods that are often known to be lower in pesticide levels. Now, if I have the option to buy all my food in organic, I do. And I just always have. But these are the ones that are known to be lowest in pesticide levels. Avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, cabbage, onions. So again, so if you want to find a place to start with those that are on the dirty dozen. Really look into your meat sources and your egg sources. And then the last thing, one of the last couple of things I want to talk about, and you're going to see a basic similarities, is in these alkalizing foods and acidic foods. Diseases thrive in acidic state. So especially whenever I'm working with somebody with more chronic issues, you know, I try to help them get away from the sugar, get away from the refined foods, get away from any artificial foods, and encourage them to alkalize their body. Your body is a natural state, about a 7.3, 7.4, somewhere in there, a natural, slightly alkalized state. Diseases thrive in acidic states. And if you remember, on an acid-alkaline scale, 0 is the most acidic and 14 is the most alkaline. And we want to kind of keep there right in there in the middle, right? But the more alkalizing foods that we consume, the better the health often, right? And when you go through that, when I go through this list, you're going to see some similarities with this alkalizing and foods with our whole foods list, right? But here's some symptoms of being acidic. And these are symptoms that we often hear a lot, and I'm sure each one of us have something here, right? Low energy, fatigue, right? Mucus production, allergies, nasal congestion, colds, flus, infections, nerves, right? Our hair, skin, nails, formations of cysts, headaches, and again, we're going to see joint pain, so arthritis, neuritis, all these different inflammation states, and even hives, right? But again, these are just some of those symptoms of just being acidic. And if you start coupling more of a whole foods, organic lifestyle, or foods that are more alkalizing, and 75% of our diet really should be of these alkalizing whole foods, organic. And again, you have to start somewhere. And if it's just, you know, cutting out the sugar, cutting out some of those refined foods, great. That's a step forward, right? But I wanted to give you these lists of the different alkalizing foods. I'm not going to read them all off, but they're vegetables, sea veggies, burdock. I mean, some of these foods, not only are they helping you with alkalizing you, burdock is something that's actually blood purifying, right? Onions, helping the immune system. So, and giving you different garlic with immune system and just different antifungal properties that it's doing. So not only when you start consuming some of these foods or you're helping your body with the alkalinity, you're helping your body fight, right? You're helping your body create balance. And it's by adding a variety of these things. So my encouragement is to look at those, and maybe you don't like 3/4 of them. Eat the ones that you do and try to get as much variety in those that you will consume. And look at the fruit, limes, right? Most people would never think that a lime is alkalizing. Lemons are actually alkalizing to your body. Take a half of a lemon in water first thing in the morning, right? If you want to, you can add a little cayenne to that. If you do that, that's going to help stimulate and cleanse part of that liver. So it's one of the wisest things that we can do is just drink a little bit of lemon water first thing in the morning. A half a lemon, 8 to 12 ounces of water, a pinch of cayenne. You know, if you're a big juicer, you can juice your celery first thing in the morning with some of that lemon in there too. So again, just another tidbit. These foods are designed to help your body with either detoxifying, cleansing, and alkalizing. And here's some more, the nuts and seeds. I love these these good fats. Flax seeds, you're going to see flax and olive oil on every single list. Avocados, incredibly nutritionally dense, right? Almonds, incredibly nutritionally dense. A handful of almonds a day. Some people like to do about a half of an avocado a day and sprinkle in the flax seeds and the chia seeds so that way we're getting all that good fibers in. And even the condiments that are here enlisted. And there's our acidic foods, guys. These are the same foods yes, we have dairy on here. Yes, meat. All meat is slightly acidic, okay? So if you're in a chronic disease state, your diet might be a little different than just myself, right? When my father was diagnosed with what he was diagnosed with, his diet was different than what I eat because I wanted him not to consume the acidic foods, right? Because of all disease states, you know, they just thrive in an acidic state. So I wanted to give him all those tools I could, right? So again, you know, the meat is on your acidic, but again, if you're going to be doing the meat, just make sure that you're doing clean meat. But it's the nitrate full, it's the lunch meats, it's the hot dogs, it's all of these things that are loaded. It's our cereals, it's our breakfast bars. So many of us think that these granola bars are healthy. Not only are they loaded with sugar, they're refined and they're acidic. And here the acidic list continues. So again, but these are just ones that, yes, you can have some of these, but just try to consume about 75% of all your foods from the alkalized list. And the last thing I really want to talk about, and I'm just going to briefly talk about it, is genetically modified foods. Again, our food, our refined foods, it's a chemical science in the works. You know, and genetically modified foods is one of the things that we've done to our country, to me, that has damaged so many people's immune systems. So when you're out there and you're looking to buy maybe a corn chip, you definitely need to make sure that it is a non-GMO, okay? So it is not genetically modified. So basically what genetically modification means is that they are modifying the genetic code of a plant. And often it's a combination of bacterial, viruses, all within the genetic code in the genome. So again, we have to be very mindful that biotechnology is not necessarily healthy for us. So again, I love, I wanted to introduce this concept to you because they're not safe, you know, and there's just so many different studies out there of what genetically modified foods can do: slow brain growth, thickening of the GI tract, internal organ damage, gastrointestinal issues. I know that I've mentioned that several different times. And the last thing I want to talk about is sugar. Sugar, to me, is one of those other things, and sugar and high fructose corn syrup is right there. It's feeding the bad bacteria. It's causing a lot of health issues in and of itself, you know, but what can and why do I truly want to avoid it? If nothing else, if you value the way you look, right? Sugar causes, it causes a lot of aging. It causes imbalances in hormones. It causes disruption in our skin protein, our collagen, our elasticity. It causes our GI tract. And again, 70% of that immune system is in the GI tract, right? It causes imbalances in the good bacteria in our GI issues. It causes a lot of what I want to call candida or brain foggedness. It causes a lot of those issues within that because it's feeding bad cells. You know, so again, if we can avoid some of that sugar, we're not going to have as much sugar cravings, right? And let me just tell you, if you don't believe that sugar is addictive and you consume any level of sugar and you stop, you will go on one of the biggest detox that you've ever felt. I had somebody who compared it to whenever they were on some narcotics. They were like, wow, sugar was harder to get off of my narcotics, is what they told me. But again, it's because it works with different metabolic pathways within our brain and dopamine, but it truly, truly is a very, very addictive, a very, very addictive product. It causes low blood sugars, which therefore will cause binges and your blood sugars to go high and low, causing cortisol issues, causing hormonal balancing. So if you want to start somewhere through my talk, start with cutting out sugar. Start with avoiding as much refined foods as you can, okay? Because if we can cut out sugar, we can cut out a lot of the weight issues. We can cut out a lot of the sleeping issues. We can cut out all of those different things. But if we can start with at least avoiding sugar, being mindful and starting to incorporate more whole foods, more organic whole foods. Again, there's this stairway of steps, right? Incorporating healing foods into your diet, incorporating good, healthy fats in your diet, salmon, herring, mackerel. It's going to feed your brain. It's going to give you those antioxidants that your body needs, right? So again, it's for optimal health. So if nothing else, we cut out the sugar. If you want your next baby step, it's sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Then it's getting away from the processed food. If you get away from the processed food, you're going to get rid of a lot of those chemicals that are in some of those processed food. If we get rid of the non-organic, we're going to get rid of all the chemicals too. So again, it's baby steps for some, but if you really want to start getting and eating healthy, healing foods, it's going to be organic, whole foods. If we can work in as much of those alkalizing foods as we can, that will be incredible, and lots of good foods. So I gave you the dirty dozen, remember? So if we could even cut out those few foods that are the highest in the pesticides, whenever you do try to switch over to organic, at least you know that there are some that are worse than others, right? And just start thinking of your food as art. Look how beautiful that is. I can tell you as a mother, when I put in my plate out for the dinner table and I have all of these different colors and these whole foods and on the plate, how rewarding it is for me as a mother, because I'm training my children with what I do and with what I eat and with what I cook. So again, I know I put a lot of information all in 20 minutes or more, but thank you, Danielle, for letting me talk and give these ideas for everyone this afternoon.
Absolutely, Audra, it was a wealth of wisdom. One of the things that I'm going to implement is that half a lemon every single morning. That's another super easy win. How simple is that? Just buy a bag of lemons, have them, and then put that in my water every morning just to get the day started, on top of pulling out some more sugar. Because I think, you know, for me, it's emotional. A lot of the times if I'm feeling bored or I get emotional about something, we tend to want to go eat, and then it causes more problems. And so thank you so much for sharing all your valuable information and just being a dynamic person to just be around. You surround yourself with good people. Keep yourself plugged in with people that think positive, who do the right things, who have healthy habits, and that'll start wearing off on you. So minimize your time around negative people or people that aren't, you still love them, but you don't want to spend as much time with them. So come join us next week. We have I believe it's Dr. DeLuca. He's a board certified orthopedic surgeon. He is going to be talking about our endocannabinoid health. He and his beautiful fiance, Sarah Bowlers, they're a huge part of our family as well, and they're always giving great. In fact, they're vegan, and you should see the two of them. They look absolutely dynamic. They look beautiful. So we're excited to have them next week. Again, join our Facebook group, 6 Weeks to Summer Challenge. And if this is your first time listening in, we have other recordings that you can catch up on. Thank you again, Audra. I'm going to go ahead and close this out for today, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the same place, same number that you dialed in today, next Friday, 12 noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Audra. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.